After defeating countless enemies, a team of elite adventurers is shown battling a fearsome dragon inside an RPG. At the same time, several boys discuss the fight and explain one terrifying rule of the game: any player who dies loses the ability to ever log in again. Leading the raid is the story's protagonist, Aruto. As he fights on the front line, Takanori and the mage Satsuki bombard the dragon with powerful elemental magic, while Asai supports the team using her rare power to glimpse a few moments into the future. Following an intense battle, Aruto lands the finishing strike that finally brings the dragon down. The story then reveals that he is the guildmaster of Subaru, the strongest guild in the game, Union. A few days later, Asai gathers everyone to discuss a newly discovered dark mission that no player has ever managed to clear. Since Subaru is considered the strongest guild, she believes the quest should be well within their abilities. Satsuki, however, urges everyone to think carefully. She argues that if the mission has remained undefeated for so long, it is unlikely to be as simple as it appears. While the rewards and fame would be incredible, she questions whether risking their lives is truly worth it. Takanori supports her concern by reminding the group that another top-ranked guild challenged the mission before them and was completely wiped out in only 10 seconds. One of the guild members, Clive, becomes excited instead of worried. He says the dragon they defeated before barely put up a fight, so he welcomes a real challenge. Hearing this, Aruto confidently states that if every other guild has failed, then it simply means they are the ones destined to succeed. Without hesitation, he announces that they will conquer the mission. Even the quiet and timid Nozomi agrees to stand beside the team. The guild immediately begins making preparations. As everyone checks their equipment and abilities, Satsuki quietly approaches Aruto and shyly hands him a ring she bought for him. The rest of the group instantly starts teasing the pair, convinced there is something romantic between them. Smiling, Aruto thanks her for the thoughtful gift and promises that she can ask him for any favor she wants in return. After finishing their preparations, the party heads toward the mission. Before long, they arrive at a camp crowded with players waiting for the chance to challenge the same dungeon. Not long after, Aruto and Asai suddenly vanish from the group, prompting Satsuki to ask everyone else to search for them. They eventually discover the two talking in private, where Asai quietly asks Aruto for a personal favor. His surprised expression makes it clear that her request is unexpected, but the audience is not told what she actually asked. A short time later, the party enters the dungeon. They overcome one deadly trap after another before defeating a monster guarding the path. Everyone points out that their smooth progress is possible because of Asai's foresight, which allows her to predict every trap before it activates. Clive even laughs and says her ability is practically cheating since she already knows what will happen moments in advance. That incredible power is exactly why countless guilds want to recruit her, but Asai firmly declares that she has no intention of leaving Aruto and the others. Clive jokingly adds that anyone who tries to steal her away will have to answer to him first. The team continues pressing deeper until they finally stand before the final boss chamber. Inside waits an intimidating dark knight, whose overwhelming aura immediately puts everyone on edge. Refusing to let fear take over, Aruto motivates his companions while Asai continuously calls out every attack the boss is about to use. Working together, the party launches a perfectly timed assault from multiple directions. Once the Dark Knight is briefly exposed, Aruto moves in to deliver the finishing blow, but Asai suddenly warns that several flying swords are targeting Nozomi. Without thinking twice, Aruto abandons his attack and rushes to shield Nozomi. Although he manages to protect her, one of the swords still pierces him. Before anyone can react, the Dark Knight unleashes a devastating beam aimed directly at Aruto. Asai immediately jumps into its path, sacrificing herself to save his life. The entire party is frozen in disbelief, knowing that Asai's death means she can never enter the game again. After the failed mission, the group meets in the real world for the first time, where it is revealed that they are all only 12 years old. Worried because Asai has stopped responding to their messages, they visit her home together. The moment they arrive, they are met by the heartbreaking sight of her mother crying. Several hours later, the truth comes to light. Asai passed away in real life at the exact moment her character died inside the game. The news leaves every child devastated. Although the official explanation claims she suffered a heart attack, investigators conclude that the game itself was not responsible for her death. Even so, rumors quickly spread that the company behind the game might permanently shut down its servers because of the tragedy. After paying their respects at Asai's funeral, Takanori confronts Aruto in anger. Unable to control his emotions, he blames Aruto for everything, insisting that none of this would have happened if he had not pushed the guild to challenge the dungeon. Years pass, and one of Aruto's old friends encourages him to return by telling him that Union has been completely rebuilt into a brand new version called Union R. Despite hearing about the massive overhaul, Aruto shows no desire to play the game again. Not long afterward, Aruto leaves his bedroom and is warmly welcomed by his younger sister. As she prepares eggs for breakfast, he sits down and watches the morning news. The broadcast announces the launch of a new MMORPG called Union R, created by the very same company that developed the game which forever changed Aruto's childhood. The news report goes on to explain that the game has exploded in popularity because its highest-ranked players are now being considered for jobs at the company. Outstanding players can even earn real-world rewards, including scholarships and opportunities to study overseas. The report also reveals that although Union R is free to play, access is restricted and only selected individuals, including Aruto, are allowed to enter. Even while his younger sister prepares breakfast for him, Aruto shows no sign of excitement. After quietly thanking her, he gets up and heads back to his room. Once inside, Aruto notices that his friend is still flooding him with messages, hoping to convince him to try the new game. Then he remembers that today marks the 6th anniversary of Asai's death. With that thought weighing on his mind, he puts on his VR headset and signs in using the same account he had years ago. As soon as he logs in, Aruto realizes how much the game has changed. Before long, the friends who invited him show up and notice that he seems unusually downcast. Rather than responding, Aruto stays quiet as they make their way toward a nearby forest. Along the journey, one of them reminds everyone that dying inside the game means losing their account forever. Those words immediately remind Aruto of the original Union and how he wishes he could still be playing alongside Asai and the rest of their old guild. After traveling deeper into the area, the group enters a dungeon. One of Aruto's companions nervously admits that he is terrified because it is his very first time exploring one. Before anyone can react, Aruto senses several monsters closing in. He instantly unsheathes his sword and eliminates every enemy before they even reach the party. Watching the effortless display of skill, the others are left speechless and praise him as the greatest swordsman they have ever seen. Not long afterward, the dungeon unexpectedly shifts around them. Aruto immediately points out that the original Union never had dungeons capable of teleporting players to completely different locations. One of the girls sees it as a positive sign, believing it simply means more monsters are waiting ahead. Aruto disagrees, explaining that what worries him most is the fact that he cannot detect the presence of a single monster nearby. A few moments later, the group comes across a treasure chest. Believing he is the only one who could survive a possible trap, they ask Aruto to open it. The instant the lid is lifted, he freezes in disbelief. Standing inside is none other than Asai herself. Aruto cannot comprehend what he is seeing because she died 6 years earlier, yet she behaves as though nothing unusual has ever happened. Once they leave the dungeon, Aruto's companions head off to report that the mission has been completed. Meanwhile, Aruto confronts Asai, insisting that she cannot possibly be the real one and accusing her of pretending to be someone else. Completely confused, Asai has no idea why he is saying such things. Just as Aruto is about to reveal that she died years ago, several adventurers walk toward them. To avoid being overheard, he quickly leads her away to a more private location. After finding a quiet place, Aruto demands to know who is using Asai's account. She responds with complete confidence, saying she was playing with everyone only yesterday, and even recalls that they had planned a trip to the swimming pool. Hearing that instantly reminds Aruto of the conversation Asai and Nozomi had 6 years earlier about going there together. Trying to confirm his suspicions, Aruto asks Asai what year she believes it is. Without hesitation, she answers 2034. Aruto then tells her that the real year is 2040. Refusing to believe him, Asai checks her status window for herself and discovers he is telling the truth. Convinced it has to be some kind of system error, she immediately attempts to log out. Just as Aruto expected, the logout option does not work. What confuses Aruto even more is how calm Asai remains despite everything she has learned. Wanting answers, he asks about the rest of their old companions before finally revealing the truth. He tells her that she died 6 years ago, and after losing her, the group slowly drifted apart until their friendship completely fell apart. Asai simply laughs, convinced that Aruto is making up a ridiculous joke. At that moment, several adventurers approach them, commenting that the rumors of Asai's death must have been false after all. One of them introduces himself and says he has come to recruit her into his guild. Asai immediately rejects the offer, declaring that she is already a member of Subaru. The man laughs at her response, explaining that Subaru was disbanded years ago. Shocked by what she hears, Asai turns to Aruto and asks whether it is true. Instead of answering, Aruto silently looks away. Without warning, the man throws a punch at Aruto, mocking him for no longer being the warrior he once was. He then draws his weapon and launches another attack. Before his strike can connect, Asai calmly predicts every move he is about to make. Watching this unfold, everyone finally realizes that she truly is the real Asai, since no one else possesses the unique ability to foresee the future. Smirking confidently, the man tells Aruto that he will spare him only if he kneels and begs. Before Aruto can respond, Takanori suddenly arrives accompanied by a large group of adventurers. It is revealed that he is now a member of the powerful Illuminati Guild. With a single slash, Takanori slices the man's clothes apart, humiliating him so badly that he immediately flees the scene. After the commotion settles, Aruto, Asai, and Takanori remain behind to talk. Asai asks Takanori to let Aruto come with her, but he rejects the idea without a moment's hesitation. He argues that Aruto has become far weaker than he used to be and could easily lose his life now. He also dislikes the fact that Aruto insists something abnormal is happening with Asai. In the end, Asai firmly tells Takanori that if Aruto is not coming with them, then she has no intention of going either. Realizing he cannot change her mind, Takanori simply tells her that if she ever needs him, she only has to call his name, and he will appear without hesitation. With those final words, he instantly teleports away. Unable to understand everything that has happened, Asai asks why the people who were once close friends are now standing against one another. Aruto quietly explains that everything fell apart 6 years earlier. After their failed mission, everyone gradually drifted away, stopped speaking to each other, and before long, the Subaru Guild ceased to exist. Instead of giving up, Asai becomes determined and says they should simply build everything back together from the beginning. The following day, Aruto logs out of the game while wondering whether the Asai he met could truly be the real one. As he sits lost in thought, his younger sister Aruna enters his room and informs him that someone has come to see him. Stepping outside, Aruto is caught completely off guard when he finds Satsuki waiting for him. The two head back to Aruto's room, where he finally thanks Satsuki for staying by his side until the very end during the tragedy, 6 years ago, since they had never spoken after that day. Satsuki admits that she originally had no intention of playing Union R, but eventually changed her mind. By the time she tried to contact Aruto in the game, he had already logged out. Aruto asks whether she has already met the person they had been discussing. He also admits that he would rather leave everything to Takanori from now on. Satsuki immediately rejects that way of thinking, because the Aruto she once knew would never have said something like that. Aruto explains that the only reason he logged back into the game was because he intended to wait until his account was eventually erased for good. Hearing that fills Satsuki with frustration. She tells him he cannot erase the memories they shared or pretend the past never existed. After expressing her feelings, she leaves without another word. Several hours later, Satsuki returns to Union R. Before long, Aruto arrives together with Asai. The instant Satsuki lays eyes on her, she realizes that Asai acts exactly the way she did 6 years ago, as though no time has passed at all. Keeping a calm expression, Satsuki bluntly tells Asai that she died years ago and reminds her that she personally attended her funeral. Asai can only laugh it off, insisting that they should not joke about something so ridiculous when she is standing right there in front of them. Satsuki then explains that the reason Asai cannot log out is most likely because she no longer has a real body waiting for her outside the game. Those words deeply shake Asai, who desperately insists that she is truly alive. Satsuki, however, reveals that she has visited Asai's grave every single day for the past 6 years, and she cannot bear the thought of losing her a second time if all of this turns out to be nothing more than a glitch. Before anyone can say another word, Aruto suddenly senses danger. He quickly blocks a long-range attack as multiple enemies charge toward them from every direction. Within moments, they find themselves completely surrounded. Remaining perfectly composed, Satsuki coldly tells the attackers that they have come only to throw their lives away. She immediately unleashes a barrage of powerful magic, wiping out every enemy without leaving a single survivor. Watching the battle unfold, Aruto realizes that Satsuki has become someone who shows absolutely no mercy to those who stand against her. Elsewhere, several girls discuss how their attempt to capture Aruto and Asai ended in failure. Takanori suddenly appears before them and calmly states that capturing either of them is impossible. He then warns everyone that if anyone dares lay even a finger on Asai, he will personally eliminate them all. Terrified by his warning, one of the girls quickly promises that they will abandon any plans to pursue her. Meanwhile, Aruto and the others make their way back to Subaru's former guild headquarters. The moment Aruto steps inside, his heart sinks after seeing that every trace of their old belongings has disappeared. While looking around the abandoned base, Aruto notices the ring Satsuki gave him years ago. At the same time, Satsuki sadly realizes that he never wore the ring, despite it being a gift from her. A little later, Aruto walks toward an old well located elsewhere within the guild base. There he encounters a mysterious girl named Liicha. She demonstrates the ability to read his thoughts, but immediately assures him that she has no connection to the people who attacked them earlier. Liicha warns Aruto that Asai must be protected because her power to see the future extends beyond predicting people's actions. Before disappearing, she leaves him with one final message, telling him that he must face the person he used to be. Her cryptic advice only leaves Aruto more confused since he has no idea what she is trying to tell him. Not long afterward, Aruto accidentally overhears an argument between Asai and Satsuki. Satsuki tells Asai to stop misleading Aruto because she believes Asai is nothing more than saved game data. Those words deeply wound Asai, who insists that everything she experiences feels just as real as it would for any living player. Satsuki continues by explaining that the past 6 years have changed everyone, especially Aruto. Hidden nearby, Aruto silently listens as she reveals how Asai's death caused him to shut himself off from the world and lose nearly all of his emotions in real life. Because of that, Satsuki begs Asai to stay away from him, believing that her sudden return is only reopening old wounds and causing him even more pain. Still refusing to accept that she is dead, Asai insists that she is alive. Satsuki counters by arguing that Asai should no longer be capable of using her unique prophet art ability. Asai immediately replies that she used it just the previous day to help Aruto during battle. Satsuki dismisses the claim, insisting it was nothing more than a coincidence. Unable to watch them argue any longer, Aruto finally reveals himself and orders both of them to stop. He openly admits that he is no longer the same person he once was before asking them to leave him alone. After saying those words, he immediately logs out of the game. The next day, while Aruto is watching television, Satsuki arrives at his house. She apologizes for arguing with Asai the previous day. Aruto understands and asks whether she believes Asai is really the real one. Satsuki does not answer, and Aruto admits that he also does not know what to believe. A moment later, Satsuki blushes and says that she thinks the two of them will have to solve this matter together. She then takes out a promise ring that Aruto gave her when they were children. It was a symbol of loyalty between friends and fellow members of the Subaru Guild, and all of their guildmates had received one as well. Suddenly, Aruto remembers something important and rushes to Asai's grave. He digs into the ground and takes out a ring that he had given to her. He explains that he and Asai had planned to exchange rings in real life. Satsuki realizes that it was connected to the promise they made on the day they went into the forest dungeon, but Aruto tells her that it actually meant something else. At that very moment, he remembers an important detail. Satsuki then decides that she will help Asai inside the game, regardless of whether she is real or not. She tells Aruto that the best thing they can do now is return to the game. As they leave, flowers can be seen on Asai's grave, suggesting that Takanori was the one who placed them there, as he quietly watches the two of them from a distance. Several hours later, Aruto and Asai are hunting tree monsters because Asai needs their magical sap to make a promise to Aruto. After defeating one of the monsters, they finally obtain the sap they need. However, Asai accidentally falls into the water. When Aruto reaches her, he becomes embarrassed because she has taken off all of her clothes to dry them. Feeling flustered, Aruto tells her that she should not undress so casually. Asai simply reminds him that they always used to bathe together in the past. Just then, Aruto hears several adventurers approaching, so he has no choice but to hug Asai to keep them from seeing her naked. Once the adventurers leave, Asai playfully pushes Aruto into the water, teasing him because he never used to get so embarrassed 6 years ago. Asai then admits that she misses her parents, but she understands that she cannot leave the game because she has tried logging out many times without success. Seeing how emotional she has become, Aruto hugs her and apologizes for everything he said the previous day. Meanwhile, Satsuki looks through old photos of herself with the group. She remembers that Aruto was always there to save her whenever she needed help in the game, because protecting her had always been one of his top priorities. Those memories always made her blush. Back with Aruto and Asai, the two visit a blacksmith after asking for a ring to be made from the magical tree sap. At first, Asai tries to put the ring on Aruto's finger, but Aruto gently takes it and places it on her instead. Asai becomes incredibly happy because, even though the ring was originally meant for him, he chose to give it to her. A short time later, they meet up with Satsuki. Asai happily tells her that they have created the first ring of the new Subaru Guild. However, Satsuki immediately becomes jealous after seeing Aruto place the ring on Asai's left hand. She explains that putting a ring on a girl's left ring finger is considered a symbol of marriage. Unfortunately, Aruto is completely clueless and fails to understand what Satsuki is trying to imply. Later, the group travels to another area. Asai comments that Satsuki has been acting strangely. They continue defeating tree monsters until they collect enough magical sap to create a second ring. Satsuki considers giving it to Aruto, but because she is too shy, she ends up wearing it herself instead. Asai smiles, saying that they are getting closer and closer to restoring the Subaru Guild. After some time, the group heads to the place where they fought the final boss years ago because they believe it is the only way to uncover what really happened to Asai. Overcome with excitement, Asai hugs Aruto, making Satsuki visibly jealous. Aruto explains that they came there to recover Asai's lost memories. Since Asai still cannot remember anything, the group decides to leave. However, Asai suddenly says that she can sense someone's presence. Aruto does not believe her because his detection skill has not picked up anyone nearby. To his surprise, Leisha suddenly opens a portal through a door, and the very same monster that killed Asai 6 years ago appears before them. The Dark Knight immediately throws several knives at the main entrance, blocking their only escape route. Asai realizes that if there is no way out, then they will have to fight. The Dark Knight launches a fierce attack, and the group barely manages to dodge it. Satsuki quickly charges up a powerful multi-element magic attack and unleashes it against the monster. However, just as expected, the spell does absolutely nothing because it cannot break through the monster's magical barrier. Moments later, Satsuki is struck by an attack that paralyzes her legs, and Aruto is hit as well. Asai immediately tries to shoot the Dark Knight, but when her attack fails to damage it, she aims at the ceiling instead. The impact causes a huge rock to fall onto the monster. Even so, the Dark Knight remains unharmed. At that moment, Aruto becomes desperate and notices the guild ring lying on the ground. He suddenly remembers the promise he made with Asai in the forest. The two of them had vowed to always protect each other. Aruto puts on the ring, and an incredible surge of determination fills him. With that newfound resolve, he manages to slash part of the monster's body. At the same time, Asai uses her future sight on Aruto. Knowing the Dark Knight's next moves in advance, Aruto unleashes a relentless barrage of attacks, overwhelming the monster and leading the group to victory. After the battle, Satsuki tells Aruto that it seems his descended ability has returned. The skill is known as Cœur de Lion, an ability that can summon a powerful monster. Satsuki then apologizes to Asai because she has finally confirmed that Asai truly possesses the Prophet Art, her unique future reading ability. Since only someone with a physical body can use that skill, they realize that Asai is not actually dead as Satsuki originally believed. However, they still need to uncover what really happened to her because she remains trapped inside the game. In the end, the three of them promise to rebuild the Subaru Guild and stay together once again. They then leave the dungeon and talk about reuniting with Clive and the rest of their old teammates. However, they know that the only person who might be able to help them is Takanori. Just then, a strange red crystal falls from the necklace Asai is wearing. She wonders where it came from and guesses that she may have obtained it after defeating the boss. Asai tries to remember what happened, but she suddenly collapses to the ground. Fragments of her real-life memories begin flashing through her mind. However, neither she nor the others can understand them because the memories are from when she was only 6 years old. Sometime later, the group arrives in the city. Aruto admits that he still does not understand what Asai said earlier. Asai replies that she does not understand it either because all she felt was a memory from when she was that young. Seeing the two of them talking closely makes Satsuki jealous. The group later arrives at an inn, where everyone stares at them strangely. Ignoring the attention, they head to their room. There, Satsuki summons her elemental spirit, which she had previously sent to spy on the conversations of other adventurers. Most of the rumors are about the boss they defeated in the dungeon. The three of them begin to suspect that someone is spreading the news everywhere. Even so, Aruto says that he would rather focus on finding a way to return Asai to the real world. He believes the memories they just witnessed might be an important clue. Asai then suggests that their first priority should be reuniting every member of the Subaru Guild, because it will make their investigation much easier. However, they have no idea whether Clive and Nozomi are still playing the game. Satsuki then says that she knows a reliable informant who might be able to help. As they are crossing a bridge, several adventurers rush past them and warn them to be careful because members of the Southern Cross Guild are active in the area. The group continues talking about how many guilds are surprised that the Illuminati Guild has survived for so many years. After walking for a while, they find themselves in the middle of a canyon where countless people are watching them from all sides. A man named Litos, the guild leader, steps forward and demands that Aruto hand over Asai. Just like many other guilds, he wants her because of her prophet art ability. Litos also boasts that his guild has 1,000 members and warns them not to even think about resisting. Without showing any fear, Aruto declares that none of them are a match for the Subaru Guild. Before the situation can escalate, another guild known as the Brilliant Society suddenly arrives. Its leader, Angelis, tells Letos that the best thing he can do is leave Aruto's group alone. He explains that all of Letos's members have already been targeted, and staying any longer could lead to a massacre. Left with no other choice, Litos orders his entire army to withdraw. Afterward, Angelis approaches Aruto's group and says that he has no intention of causing trouble. He even offers them peace and his protection because he has no interest in obtaining Asai's abilities. Instead, he explains that Asai's very existence, and whatever happens to her, could have a major impact on the world of Union R. Angelis then offers Asai a place in his guild so they can protect her, explaining that many people will come after her because of her abilities. However, Asai refuses without hesitation. She says that she belongs to Subaru, not any other guild, and she has no intention of taking orders from someone else. Angelis calmly accepts her decision. He says that, in the end, Asai's existence is like a wild card that could change the fate of this world. Before leaving, he warns them that if anything happens because of her, countless people will come after them. After delivering that warning, he quietly leaves. Elsewhere, a girl reports to Takanori that both Letos's guild and Angelis's guild are following Asai. Takanori orders everyone to continue watching them because he has no intention of letting anyone get close to her. He already knows that they are all after Asai. The following day, Aruto and Satsuki meet in the real world. They go shopping because Aruto wants to buy a new console to play Union R. After they finish, Aruto notices that Satsuki seems upset, so he invites her to have lunch with him. While eating, they talk about how they still have not been able to find Clive, and they believe Nozomi may have moved to another country. Even during lunch, Aruto keeps talking about Asai, making Satsuki increasingly jealous. Aruto suggests reporting everything to the police, but they both realize that no one would believe a story about a girl who died 6 years ago. They also know they cannot tell Asai's family because they would think they were making fun of them. Unable to hold back her feelings any longer, Satsuki accuses Aruto of wanting to keep Asai all to himself. She angrily stands up and storms out of the restaurant without caring about the scene she causes. The next day, Aruto logs into the game and meets up with both girls. He asks Asai several questions in hopes of helping her recover more memories. Asai remembers a place called the Tower of Heaven, so the three of them immediately head there. When they arrive, Aruto realizes that the tower looks exactly the same as it did years ago. As soon as they enter, they defeat a monster, and Asai smiles happily after seeing Satsuki fighting again. Satsuki replies that Aruto was always the one who supported her in battle. As they continue climbing the stairs, Aruto asks Satsuki if she is feeling alright because she has been acting strangely all day. Acting proudly, she tells him that he does not need to worry about her. Soon after, they pass through another door, where a robot suddenly switches into annihilation mode. The group quickly defeats it without much trouble, but they stay alert because they sense that a second phase of the battle is about to begin. Moments later, a thick fog surrounds them, and the robot captures Satsuki. Aruto immediately rushes forward and repeatedly attacks the machine until it is completely destroyed. After seeing Aruto and Asai working so well together, Satsuki says that she only let her guard down and that the two of them should continue without her, once again showing how deeply she cares about Aruto. Eventually, they reach the top of the tower and are amazed by the beautiful view. Aruto asks Asai if she remembers anything else, but she tells him that they should not leave Satsuki alone, because she seems to be in a bad mood. Asai then checks her inventory and discovers a damaged red gem. Before she can examine it further, Takanori suddenly appears and snatches the gem away from her. Takanori warns her not to look at the gem because his divine sense tells him that it is something dangerous for her. He then asks Aruto if he intends to get Asai killed because he refuses to let anyone continue chasing her. Takanori also explains that high-ranking guilds like Illuminati receive information about everything they do. He then teleports everyone to another location before separating Aruto from the others because he wants to settle things with him personally. Takanori punches Aruto and explains that his divine sense confirms that Asai is real, but she can never return to the real world. He then reveals that he intends to spend the rest of his life inside the game so he can keep the promise he made to her. Aruto cannot believe that Takanori is willing to become trapped in a video game forever just to stay by Asai's side. The two begin arguing, and when Aruto insists that Takanori's divine sense is wrong about Asai, Takanori immediately loses his temper. The argument quickly turns into a fistfight. As they exchange punches, the barrier surrounding them suddenly disappears. The environment immediately returns to normal, and everyone is teleported back to where they are. Asai instantly points her weapon at Takanori and warns him that if he lays another hand on Aruto, he will have to deal with her. Before leaving, Asai asks Takanori if he knows where Clive and Nozomi are, but he replies that he has no idea. After saying that, he walks away. Satsuki also leaves without giving Aruto any explanation. In another scene, Takanori speaks with one of his guild members and reveals that the three strongest guilds are fighting for control of the game. According to him, the key to winning that struggle is obtaining Asai's prophet art ability. At that moment, another guild member arrives and informs Takanori that Letos and Angeles have come to meet with him. Takanori quietly thinks that he must awaken Asai as soon as possible. Several hours later, Satsuki recalls the conversation she had with Takanori, and it leaves her feeling deeply troubled. Meanwhile, Aruto is still inside the game talking with Asai. They notice that Satsuki has not shown up, even though they have been waiting for her. Finding it very unusual, the two decide to continue their journey. They head to a teleportation point that takes them to the opposite side of the continent. After arriving, they find themselves in a quiet village, where they see only a single couple. The two then speak with an elderly woman who tells them that there is someone named Cly in the area, but he is not the person they are looking for. She also explains that there is no one named Clive anywhere on the continent of Naochis. Hearing that, Aruto and Asai begin to wonder if Clive and the others might be on the other continent instead. Later, they stop by a fountain, where Aruto realizes that he needs to repair his sword because it has become badly worn from constant fighting. After waiting for a while, Satsuki finally arrives. Asai asks if she is alright because she has been acting strangely for the past few days. Satsuki apologizes to both of them and says that they should continue their investigation. The group then enters a forest, where a thick fog begins to spread. While talking about the many people searching for Asai, Satsuki notices that the fog keeps getting denser. After checking the system, they discover that the fog is actually being created by at least 100 adventurers. Aruto becomes nervous because not even his detection skill can locate them. Suddenly, Angeles appears in front of them. As Aruto tries to reach the others, the group is separated. At the same time, Letos appears before Aruto together with many members of his guild. Letos explains that Aruto has been teleported to another location because his guild and Angeles' guild have joined forces to capture Asai. He also reveals that even Takanori's guild has formed an alliance with them. Although Aruto cannot understand the reason behind it, Letos tells him that Asai and Satsuki are already surrounded by the members of the other guilds. Meanwhile, Angeles hands Asai a letter containing a recorded message from Takanori. In the recording, Takanori says that Asai should not exist in this world. He also reveals that he knows she and Aruto have already met in the real world. Takanori explains that he and Asai are complete opposites, then asks her to leave the game because Aruto could end up losing the ability to play forever if he continues getting involved. He begs her not to interfere with his plans. Those words greatly upset Asai. Angelis tells her to surrender and says that she could live safely at their guild base instead. In response, Asai attacks his hand, activates her elemental magic, and immediately begins fighting all of the adventurers around her. Elsewhere, Aruto battles Litos. Letos is amazed by Aruto's strength and admits that the legendary player has not lost his skills. Even so, he warns Aruto that he cannot defeat an entire army by himself. The battle quickly begins, and Aruto successfully dodges a barrage of arrows. Suddenly, Liasia appears and shoots Litos with a special arrow. He quickly realizes that he cannot remove it and that his strength has been completely sealed. Liasia then unleashes another attack, creating a rain of arrows that traps all of the remaining enemies. She tells Aruto to leave immediately because Asai is in danger. At the same time, Asai cannot understand why her friends are doing all of this. Takanori tells her that everything is for her own good, but Asai replies that she is tired of seeing him and Aruto constantly fighting. She only wants everyone to be together again like they were 6 years ago, so they can rebuild the Subaru Guild. However, Takanori says that things can never go back to the way they were. He finally admits that he has fallen in love with Asai. 6 years earlier, he saw Aruto and Asai together in the forest, and ever since then he has carried resentment toward Aruto. Moments later, Takanori traps Asai inside a magical crystal and puts her to sleep using a sleeping gas. Several guild members then grab Asai despite Takanori ordering them not to touch her. Before long, Takanori and his allies are surrounded, and he realizes that Angelis has betrayed him. A fierce battle breaks out while Angelis's forces take Asai away. Soon afterward, every player in the game receives a system announcement revealing that Angelis's guild and Litos's guild have merged. Their newly formed guild is now the strongest in the game. The announcement also reveals that they have captured Asai and now possess the power of the Prophet Art. Everyone is shocked because the Prophet Art is the legendary ability to see the future. Litos then announces that the newly merged guild will be called Divine and invites all powerful players to join them. Meanwhile, Aruto and Satsuki return to the inn, where Satsuki is left completely unsure of what they should do next. Back at the inn, Aruto tells Satsuki that he has already made up his mind. He does not care if he has to face all 3,000 members of the Divine Guild by himself, because he will never allow them to use Asai simply because of her Prophet Art ability. Aruto then tells Satsuki that because she has been hesitating lately, he cannot fight at his full potential. He asks her to stay behind because he would rather die trying to save Asai, even if it means he will never be able to play the game again. After saying those words, Aruto leaves, while Satsuki remains lost in thought. A few hours later, Aruto arrives at the Divine Fortress, where more than 3,000 adventurers stand before him. Even though he knows he has almost no chance of surviving, he is determined to fight until his very last breath to save Asai. At that moment, a flashback reveals the time when the Subaru Guild fought a group of robots. During the battle, Asai guided everyone by predicting the enemy's movements. Following her instructions, the group successfully defeated the robot after several minutes of fighting, making Asai incredibly happy. The others were amazed because it was the very first time Asai had awakened her future-seeing ability. She explained that she had simply started imagining everything that would happen during the battle. From that day on, Satsuki began feeling jealous of Asai. Even though she had trained hard and become much stronger, no one had ever praised her the way they praised Asai. Unable to hide her feelings any longer, Satsuki burst into tears. Asai comforted her with kind words, but Satsuki honestly admitted that Asai was always the one who stayed closest to Aruto. Asai gently replied that she had also worked hard to support him and believed that if both of them kept trying, they might one day be able to tell Aruto how they truly felt. Those words comforted Satsuki, and she embraced Asai. Back in the present, Satsuki remembers that conversation and finally regains her determination. She immediately goes to see Takanori, who appears surprisingly calm. Deep inside, however, Takanori is furious because he knows he cannot do anything after being betrayed, and his guild is no longer strong enough to defeat the enemy. Even so, he believes he cannot afford to fail if he wants to rescue Asai. Satsuki tells him that Aruto has gone to save Asai all by himself. Takanori barely reacts and coldly says that if Aruto dies, he will be able to keep Asai all to himself. Satsuki immediately tells him that she wants both Aruto and Asai to stay together because they are members of Subaru. Meanwhile, Aruto is struck by countless powerful spells. Even so, he refuses to give up and continues charging forward despite his injuries. At the same time, Satsuki tells Takanori that she is going to help Aruto whether he comes or not, because she now sees him as nothing but a selfish person. After saying that, she leaves without waiting for his response. Back at the battlefield, Aruto defeats dozens of adventurers, while many others surround him and demand that he surrender. They tell him that they will use Asai to control the future of the game. A powerful mage then binds Aruto with magical chains that were originally created to capture giant dragons. Just as they are about to finish him off, bolts of lightning suddenly fall from the sky and shatter the chains. Takanori arrives together with Satsuki. Proudly, he says that he came only to rescue Asai. Aruto tells him that there are still around 100 enemies remaining. The two immediately fight side by side with perfect coordination. Their synchronized attacks eliminate the guards protecting the entrance, allowing them to break into the fortress. After entering the main hall, Satsuki realizes that several criminals possess abilities that suppress magic, meaning she will not be able to fight at full strength. At the same time, Takanori spots Asai and rushes toward her, but because the enemy is using her power, they are able to predict every one of his attacks. Takanori is eventually captured by magical chains. Angelis then reveals that he can control Asai's prophet art by connecting directly to her consciousness, forcing her to use her ability unconsciously. At that moment, Litos attacks Aruto and blocks every single strike. Angelis explains that he has linked everyone in the fortress to Asai's consciousness, allowing them to predict every move their opponents make before they even attack. Satsuki desperately calls out to Asai, hoping to wake her up, but Angelis explains that she has been manipulated so deeply that she cannot awaken so easily. Just then, several mages attack Satsuki. She refuses to lose again because she remembers promising Asai that she would become strong enough to protect her whenever she needed help. At that moment, Satsuki awakens the full power of her elemental magic and summons the Elemental Kings, the strongest beings in the entire world of Union. She asks them to lend her their strength, and a massive magic circle appears, trapping every adventurer inside. Moments later, an enormous beam of light shoots into the sky before crashing down and wiping out hundreds of enemies. Both Litos and Angelis are left completely stunned because they have never witnessed such overwhelming power before. The explosion frees Takanori from the magical chains. Seeing the situation turn against them, Litos asks Angelis what they are supposed to do now. Without warning, Angelis gathers a massive sphere of magic and suddenly drives it straight into Litos' stomach. He explains that the attack is formed from the negative emotions of the 3,000 adventurers who died while fighting to protect them. Angelis' attack causes an overwhelming power to awaken inside Litos, who immediately begins attacking Aruto's group without hesitation. Even though Satsuki knows how serious the situation has become, she reminds herself that they have always managed to overcome every obstacle together. At that very moment, Asai suddenly wakes up. Seeing this gives Takanori new hope. Then, the mysterious crystal he had taken from Asai begins emitting a voice. Everyone immediately realizes that it is recreating the same conditions as the battle against the final boss years ago. Without wasting a second, both Takanori and Satsuki activate their strongest enhancement skills and charge into battle. Alongside Aruto, Aruto rushes straight toward Litos and defeats him with a single slash. With Litos gone, only Angelis remains. Aruto realizes that this is the end for him. Aruto also explains that the enhancement buffs he received from Takanori and Satsuki allowed him to unleash that decisive attack. The three of them quickly reunite with Asai. Angelis desperately tries to stop them from taking Asai away, but Aruto and Takanori immediately confront him. After being struck, Angelis falls to his knees and begins begging for mercy. However, Satsuki shows him none. She engulfs him in flames, killing him inside the game. Sometime later, Takanori returns the crystal to Asai because she needs it to recover her memories. Asai activates the crystal and fragments of her past begin appearing before everyone. She witnesses a group of mages discussing how she was a failed experiment. They explain that they had been trying to create someone capable of seeing the future, but until that point all of their attempts had failed. Takanori watches those memories alongside Asai and is left completely shocked by what he sees. Even so, because Takanori is still wearing the Subaru Guild Ring, Asai invites him to join them on their journey. However, he refuses, saying that he is not worthy of standing beside them. Aruto then tells Takanori that he has no intention of becoming his friend again. Even so, he also tells him not to die, because one day they will settle their differences. After saying those words, Takanori quietly walks away. Asai is disappointed because she feels they came so close to restoring the Subaru Guild. Satsuki comforts her and jokingly reminds her that they are still rivals, clearly implying that both of them are competing for Aruto's heart. Unfortunately, Aruto remains completely clueless and has no idea what either of them is trying to say. In another scene, Leasia is shown talking with none other than Clive. The two reveal that everything has gone exactly according to their plan. Clive also says that he has changed his name and plans to take care of something before reuniting with his old friends. The following day, Aruto, Asai, and Satsuki spend some time at the beach. After the two girls tease him, Aruto playfully splashes them with a stream of water using one of his skills. The girls immediately complain that he is being too rough. Later, the group boards a ship captained by Alita. She tells them that they are heading to the Lost Pentagon because she was the only captain willing to accept the job. Alita asks whether they are searching for treasure, but Aruto explains that there is an unbreakable sword lying at the bottom of the sea in that area. He wants to find it so he can fight without worrying about breaking his weapon. Alita confirms that the sword really exists, but explains that it was thrown into the deepest part of the ocean. She also warns them that many people have died trying to retrieve it, making the mission extremely dangerous. After several hours of sailing, they finally reach their destination. Before they dive, Alita warns them to carefully manage their time because many adventurers failed to return to the surface after finding the sword. The group then summons a magical item that lights their path as they descend into the deep sea. After reaching the ocean floor, they search the area but find nothing. Running out of time, they are forced to return to the surface. Everyone is disappointed because the search turned out to be much harder than they expected. Suddenly, Asai says that she can sense something far away. The group decides to dive once more, and after descending deeper into the ocean, Aruto finally spots the legendary sword in the distance. The moment he sees it, Aruto says that his instincts as a swordsman are telling him that the blade belongs to him. As he reaches out to claim it, the entire seabed begins to shake. A terrifying monster known as Airgear, the king of the Dead Sea, suddenly emerges before them. The group quickly notices that just like the previous bosses they fought, Airgear also has glowing red eyes. They realize that this can no longer be a coincidence. The monster immediately attacks, but they successfully block its first strike. Aruto then tries to counterattack, only to be knocked back by a powerful blow. Airgear then turns its attention toward Asai, but just before the attack lands, someone suddenly blocks it. Standing before them is Clive. With only 2 attacks, Clive forces the monster back and buys enough time for Aruto and the others to escape. Sometime later, everyone regroups aboard the ship, where they realize that Airgear is an incredibly powerful monster. Clive also leaves them a letter, saying that they will meet again later because he has a few things he needs to take care of first. The story then flashes back to the past, when the Subaru Guild is gathered together after 2 rival guilds join forces against them. They are furious because Subaru defeated a boss before they could. Takanori points out that Subaru did nothing against the game's rules. However, Clive, who has grown tired of everything, announces that he is leaving Subaru. He says that he no longer wants to stay trapped in the guild, or continue risking his life in the game. He even admits that one day he wants to fight against his own former guild. Back in the present, Takanori invites Aruto and Satsuki to his house. Since he is extremely wealthy, he tells them to order whatever food they want. Aruto simply asks for an iced coffee. Satsuki, on the other hand, orders an enormous amount of food, leaving both Aruto and Takanori completely stunned by her appetite. Takanori jokingly tells her that it is far too many calories, but Satsuki immediately gives him a threatening look after he says she might gain weight from eating so much. After finishing her meal, Takanori asks the two of them whether they noticed anything unusual after Asai returned. Satsuki replies that the only strange thing she has noticed is that rumors have been spreading unusually fast. Takanori explains that it is all because of a guild called Hosis. His answer surprises Satsuki because Hosis is a high-ranking guild that has existed since the first major update of Union. Takanori goes on to explain that another guild once tried to uncover Hosis's secrets, but every member of that group mysteriously died inside the game. He also says that he personally visited every one of those players afterward, yet none of them were willing to talk about what had happened. Takanori believes that Hosis may be the real reason so many guilds are chasing Asai. According to him, the guild has enormous influence not only inside the game, but also in the real world. However, he still does not know whether they are after Asai because of her powers or for some other reason. Taking the opportunity, Satsuki tells Takanori that they have learned something as well. She reveals that they met their former teammate Clive, but he disappeared again shortly afterward, and they have been unable to contact him ever since. Takanori also finds it strange that someone had already driven the sword into air gear before they arrived. He points out that when he entered the updated version of Union R, none of his belongings were where he had originally left them. Aruto then admits that for some reason he feels as though the legendary sword truly belongs to him. Takanori honestly says that he does not understand everything that has been happening either, but he believes it is all connected to the mysterious crystal Asai possesses. He then shares a theory that leaves both Aruto and Satsuki speechless. Takanori suggests that Asai may have never actually died and that someone could be hiding her real body somewhere. Even though he admits that the idea sounds crazy, he believes the memories of the hooded figures might actually be scenes from Asai's real life. Still, he decides to stop talking about it because even he thinks the theory sounds unbelievable. Just then, Takanori's secretary interrupts them with important news. He reports that he has finally discovered Nozomi's location. Takanori immediately becomes embarrassed because he had been searching for her in secret and did not want Aruto and Satsuki to find out. His secretary then explains that fortunately, Nozomi has just returned to the city. Several hours later, Aruto and the others return to Alita's ship to search for the legendary sword once again. After spending hours looking for air gear, they still fail to find the monster, and begin feeling disappointed. Suddenly, Clive appears and offers to help them. Even so, the group does not seem very excited to see him again. They ask Clive where he has been all this time, but he casually replies that he has simply been busy working. Clive then takes out a special item that prevents sea monsters from approaching them. After everyone dives into the water, Satsuki and Clive combine their magic to cast a spell that allows the entire group to breathe underwater. Before long, air gear suddenly appears. Following the plan they prepared in advance, Aruto immediately charges forward and drives his sword into the monster. The group then launches a coordinated attack using magical threads to pull air gear all the way to the surface. At that moment, Satsuki freezes part of the ocean, trapping the monster in place. With air gear completely immobilized, Aruto approaches the legendary sword to finally claim it. However, just as he reaches for the weapon, Clive suddenly appears behind him and drives his sword straight through Aruto's back. Aruto collapses to the ground after being stabbed, and Asai is left completely shocked. At that very moment, her mysterious powers begin to awaken. The story then flashes back to a memory from the past, when the Subaru Guild was hiding because many people were searching for them. Suddenly, Clive appeared, threw several blades at them, and announced that he had finally found them. Immediately afterward, Aruto experiences a strange illusion. In it, he wakes up in a hospital in the real world and is greeted by Asai. This time, however, it is Aruto who has been in a coma for 6 years, while Asai never died. Their old friends even visit him in the hospital. When Aruto asks about Union R, none of them have any idea what he is talking about. Later that night, Aruto begins wondering whether everything he experienced was nothing more than a dream. At that moment, Leisha appears and explains that the world he is currently seeing was created by Asai's prophet art. Aruto struggles to understand, but Leisha tells him that this is a different reality from the one they originally lived in. In this world, Asai survived, while Aruto spent 6 years in a coma after being struck by the monster. Leisha then reveals that Aruto's true ability is not to see the future. Instead, his real power allows him to choose the future he wants for someone. After giving him a long explanation, Leisha reveals that the game itself is actually nothing more than a training ground designed to develop abilities that can be used in the real world. She explains that everything was created by a laboratory known as Gognis. Leachia also says that the laboratory deliberately placed Asai under extreme emotional stress to awaken her prophet art. When Asai witnessed Clive stab Aruto, the overwhelming fear triggered her power and caused her to create this alternate world in order to save him. As Leisha begins fading away, she tells Aruto that they will meet again very soon. Left completely confused, Aruto can no longer tell what is real and what is not. The following day in the illusion, Asai tells Aruto that she will protect him until the very end. Hearing those words reminds him of the promise they made in the other world. Aruto tells her that she has already fulfilled that promise twice. He then gently tells Asai that she does not belong in this world. As soon as he says those words, reality itself begins to distort. The story suddenly returns to the present. where Aruto successfully dodges the attack that Clive was about to land on his back. It is then revealed that the vision Aruto experienced was simply the future that would have happened if Clive had actually stabbed him. As Sai and Satsuki become furious because they cannot believe Clive would betray them like that. However, Aruto knows something they do not. As he charges toward Clive, he demands that he reveal his true identity. Aruto lands a powerful punch and explains that the real Clive once warned him about beings capable of changing their appearance. The fake Clive admits that Aruto is correct and immediately transforms into a hooded figure. He introduces himself as Simon, the sixth hollow chaos of Gogneth. Moments later, Simon releases air gear, jumps onto the monster's back, and casts a powerful spell that fuses himself with the beast, making air gear far stronger than before. The empowered air gear immediately attacks. Satsuki barely manages to block the first strike, but the monster shatters her magical shields with a second attack and captures her using one of its tentacles. The monster warns Aruto that if he moves, Satsuki will die. Air gear then turns to Asai and says that he already knows she will try to save her friend by awakening her prophet art. Confused, Asai has no idea what the monster is talking about. Aruto becomes desperate as he watches Satsuki being strangled. Air gear continues pressuring Asai, urging her to awaken her true powers. Terrified, Asai begins activating her prophet art. Just then, several knives suddenly slice through the tentacles holding Satsuki, allowing her to escape before Asai completely loses control. Aruto quickly rescues Satsuki. At first, everyone believes that Alita was the one who saved her. However, the person suddenly transforms into the real Clive. The sight of the genuine Clive fills everyone with relief and happiness. Clive immediately tells them to get ready because they are going to defeat the monster once and for all. Aruto tells Clive that they are counting on him to retrieve the legendary sword that is still embedded in Airgear's body. The group prepares for the final battle, but Airgear gathers a massive spell high in the sky before unleashing it against them. At the last moment, Aruto blocks the attack with his sword, successfully protecting Asai. The monster is shocked that Aruto managed to withstand such a devastating attack. Airgear then tells Asai that it is a shame her friends cannot survive much longer. It warns her that if she does not want Aruto to end up like the others, she must finally awaken her true powers. Just then, the monster is struck by several flying knives. It is revealed that both Clive and Satsuki are still alive. Clive had transformed both of their bodies into lightning to escape the attack, and with the help of Satsuki's wind magic, they are able to stay airborne. The two successfully hit a special bomb, sending it flying toward the monster. Aruto quickly pulls out his pistols and shoots the bomb in midair, causing a massive explosion that knocks the monster down. Taking advantage of the opening, Aruto jumps onto Airgear's head, where the legendary sword is still embedded. He tells his teammates to keep attacking so they can buy him enough time to pull the sword free. After everyone creates the perfect distraction, Aruto finally succeeds in removing the sword from the monster's head. At that moment, another memory is revealed. It turns out that when Clive threw those knives at Aruto in the past, he was actually using him as bait. While everyone was focused on Aruto, Clive secretly eliminated all of the adventurers chasing them. The truth is finally revealed. Clive never betrayed his friends. Back in the present, Clive shows everyone another red crystal fragment that had fallen from Airgear. He hands it to Asai, who immediately experiences another memory. Once again, she sees the people discussing the failed experiment. This time, they are suddenly attacked by Licia, who uses a special ability on Asai to save her from them. During that moment, the red crystal leaves Asai's body and shatters into multiple fragments. Returning to the present, everyone realizes that each crystal fragment contains a piece of Asai's lost memories. In another scene, Licia explains that everything she has done has been to delay Gogness's plans and protect both Asai and the future. Several hours later, the group returns to the city, where Takanori challenges Clive to a fight in order to confirm that he is truly the real Clive. After verifying his identity, Takanori finally accepts him. Aruto then summons the divine sword he obtained from Airgear. Later, everyone gathers at the inn. Takanori tells Clive that he knows more than he is saying, but Clive reveals that he was sent by Licia. The revelation shocks everyone. Aruto immediately recognizes Licia because he met her inside the alternate world he experienced. Clive explains that he and Licia have been secretly following and protecting the group this entire time. As soon as Satsuki realizes that Aruto already knew Licia, she becomes visibly jealous. Takanori asks Aruto what Licia told him, so Aruto explains everything about the alternate world that Asai created. Even after hearing the entire story, Takanori refuses to believe him. He says he will only accept it once Leisha confirms it herself. That response angers Aruto because he hates being treated as if he were lying. Seeing the argument getting out of hand, Clive steps in and reminds everyone that the most important thing is that Asai is still with them. He explains that Gognus is searching for her because they want to fully awaken her power. According to Clive, the only way to stop them is to reunite the entire Subaru Guild. Those words remind Aruto of what Leisha had previously told him. He finally begins to understand that everything is part of an experiment designed to push the limits of the player's abilities. At that moment, Satsuki remembers that Takanori had located Nozomi. She becomes extremely excited because she cannot wait to see her old friend again. Takanori tells Aruto and Satsuki that he will send them Nozomi's address. He admits that he would rather not go himself because Nozomi becomes very shy whenever she is around him. A few hours later, Aruto and Satsuki visit Nozomi's house. They happen to meet her as she is leaving. Nozomi is overjoyed to see them, and the three head to a cafe to catch up. During their conversation, Nozomi reveals that she is now a magazine model. She explains that she has changed a lot over the past 6 years. After moving away, she spent most of her time alone and missed all of her friends terribly. To overcome her shyness, she decided to become a model. Eventually, Nozomi asks how they managed to find her. When Aruto tells her that Takanori gave them her address, she immediately blushes. A little later, Aruto and Satsuki ask Nozomi to return to the game. When they tell her that Asai is still alive inside the game, Nozomi cannot hold back her tears and begs them not to joke about something so painful. Aruto looks at her seriously and tells her that the only way to know the truth is to log in and see Asai with her own eyes. After talking for a while longer, they say goodbye to Nozomi. Sometime later, Aruto and Satsuki return to the game and introduce the new version of Nozomi to everyone. Since she is no longer shy, Takanori thinks she has become very beautiful. Once again, both Aruto and Takanori completely fail to notice that Nozomi has feelings for Takanori. Instead, he simply says that she should join them the next time they go on an adventure. Just then, everyone receives a system notification announcing that a special dance event is about to begin. Everyone agrees that attending the event would be a great idea because it is a special dance meant to strengthen friendships and bring couples together. The next day, Satsuki is anxious because she wants to confess her feelings to Aruto. However, she becomes too nervous and decides to log into the game first. She waits for Aruto on a bridge, and when he finally arrives, she gathers her courage and asks him to invite her to the dance taking place the following day. As usual, Aruto completely misses the hint and fails to realize that Satsuki is confessing her feelings. Even so, Satsuki gives him another chance by telling him that ever since she transferred to another school, it has been difficult for her to visit him. She asks him to appreciate the effort she has made and tells him that he has until the next day to give her an answer. Later that night, Aruto looks through old photos from when everyone in the group was still children. Suddenly, he receives a message from Takanori asking him to come to Asai's grave. When Aruto arrives, Takanori shows him that he still brings fresh flowers to Asai's grave every single day. He then confesses that he plans to ask Asai to the dance. When Aruto does not respond with anything encouraging, Takanori becomes irritated. Aruto simply admits that he never knows what to say in situations like this. Without warning, Takanori punches him. Aruto is completely confused, but Takanori says that he will not allow anyone to interfere with his plans for Asai. He continues punching Aruto and admits that he still cannot understand why Asai chose to sacrifice herself to save Aruto instead of letting him die. Takanori finally confesses that he has been in love with Asai ever since they were in school. The moment he learned that she was still alive, he decided that he would gladly give his own life for her. Aruto replies that Takanori has been acting selfishly because he has never considered what Asai truly wants. He explains that Asai wants to see her parents again and wants the Subaru Guild to be reunited. Even when no one is watching, she quietly cries while Takanori thinks only about his own feelings for her. Aruto tells him that if he truly wants to be a better person, he needs to grow up and accept Aruto as part of the group again. Takanori throws another punch, but this time Aruto blocks it. After admitting that he also loves Asai, Aruto punches Takanori in the face. Instead of getting angry, Takanori says that he had been waiting for Aruto to finally admit those feelings. After exchanging a few final words, the two quietly go their separate ways. The following night, the dance finally begins. Satsuki sadly waits alone because Aruto has not shown up. A moment later, Aruto appears behind her. Although she is upset that he kept her waiting, Aruto tells her that he accepts her invitation to dance. However, Satsuki changes her mind and turns him down. Aruto heads toward the dance by himself, while Satsuki remains behind with tears in her eyes. Soon afterward, Takanori approaches Satsuki and tells her that Asai rejected him as well. After talking for a while, the two decide to attend the dance together. Meanwhile, Aruto notices Asai standing alone, looking sad. He walks over and invites her to dance. Asai's expression immediately brightens, and she happily takes him to the center of the dance floor. The two begin dancing together, smiling the entire time. Elsewhere, Nozomi is at home thinking about how kind Takanori had always been to her. She remembers how she used to arrange the classroom desks by herself, until one day Takanori came over and offered to help. Soon after, the rest of their friends joined in, and together they cleaned and organized the classroom. Back in the present, Nozomi notices her virtual reality headset sitting on her desk. A little later, she decides to log into the game. However, the first thing she sees is Takanori dancing with Satsuki. Overcome with jealousy, Nozomi quietly leaves the dance in tears. She walks into the courtyard believing she was foolish for thinking Takanori could ever return her feelings. Suddenly, reality begins to distort around her. A mysterious man and woman appear before her, call her by name, and unexpectedly say, "Welcome, Gognis." Completely confused, Nozomi has no idea what they mean. Several days later, Aruto waits for Satsuki in the real world. When she arrives, he notices that she still looks unhappy. Despite being rejected, Satsuki smiles and tells him that everything is fine and that they should continue being friends. However, she hides the fact that she cried over him all night. A short time later, Aruto and Satsuki meet with Takanori after Nozomi's mother contacts him. She explains that Nozomi has suddenly disappeared. The three immediately head to Nozomi's house, where her mother tells them that Nozomi vanished the previous morning while she was out shopping. She hands them Nozomi's virtual reality headset. After checking it, Takanori confirms that Nozomi logged into the game on the night of the dance. Later that evening, they contact Clive through a video call. Clive explains that he has managed to learn more about Nozomi. After tracing her activity, he discovered that she appeared in several different locations throughout the game. Clive then reveals that Nozomi was actually at the dance, very close to them. However, he says something that leaves everyone completely shocked. According to his investigation, Nozomi is currently inside the Sky Dungeon, specifically in the Dragon Fortress. The group cannot understand how that is possible because Nozomi left her virtual reality headset at home, and they still cannot trace her real-world IP address. Soon afterward, Aruto logs into the game and meets Asai at the Subaru Guild base. He notices that she has been decorating the place, and she suddenly gives him a hug. Just then, Clive arrives and jokingly tells them to save their romantic moments for somewhere else. A moment later, Satsuki appears and laughs because she already knows Asai has feelings for Arto. The group then tells Asai that they are going to rescue Nozomi. After that, everyone teleports to the Dragon Fortress. As soon as they arrive, they notice that the dungeon is decorated in a very unusual way. The story briefly flashes back to the past, when the Subaru Guild explored another dungeon. During that mission, a giant snake began turning everyone to stone, but Satsuki managed to save the entire group. Afterward, Asai argued with Aruto because she was the team's strategist, yet Aruto completely ignored the battle plan she had prepared. The two ended up having a friendly argument before everything returned to normal. Back in the present, the group enters the fortress and notices the many decorations inside. They begin to suspect that Nozomi personally created the entire place. Aruto tells everyone to stay alert, but within seconds they are surrounded by countless monsters. The group realizes that they are merely Nozomi's servants. They try talking to them peacefully, but after receiving no response, they are forced to defeat every one of them. At that moment, they hear a familiar voice. Nozomi appears before them, but she now has a much darker and more sinister appearance. She mocks everyone and says that watching Takanori protect Satsuki during the dance was actually quite amusing. Soon afterward, two members of Gognis appear. They introduce themselves as Syrintis and Marcion. Nozomi then reveals that she has joined Gognis. She proudly explains that together with Syrintis, she personally created the castle that used to be an ordinary dungeon. Immediately afterward, countless monsters begin pouring out from every direction. While fighting them, Aruto declares that he refuses to leave without saving Nozomi. At the same time, Syrintis and Marcion activate a mysterious cloak-like ability. Aruto and Satsuki attack it with magic, but the cloak absorbs every spell without taking any damage. Marcian explains that the cloak can absorb any form of magic and continuously adapt to every type of magical attack. Moments later, Nozomi summons her staff. Aruto and the others desperately try to reason with her, telling her that they came only to bring her home. They still cannot understand why she would go this far simply because she became jealous after seeing Takanori dance with Satsuki. While everyone is distracted, Nozomi quietly releases a single strand of her hair. The hair instantly teleports beside Asai and transforms into a creature that bites her neck. Asai screams in unbearable pain before collapsing unconscious into Ardo's arms. Sarintis explains that Nozomi has trapped Asai inside a dream that will eventually kill her. After saying that, Marcian tells them that they will meet again another time. The two members of Gognis then disappear using their magical cloak. To make matters even worse, the entire fortress suddenly begins collapsing. Everyone panics, but thanks to Satsuki's wind magic, she manages to carry the group safely into the air and escape the collapsing dungeon. Sometime later, they return to the Subaru Guild base. Asai says that she is already feeling much better. Aruto suggests that she stay at Takanori's guild headquarters instead, because it would be much safer there. However, Asai tells Aruto that she feels safer remaining at the Subaru base. She also tells him to log out of the game because his younger sister is probably worried about him. Before he leaves, Asai asks Aruto to find Nozomi in the real world because she cannot do it herself. Just then, Clive and Satsuki arrive. Clive tells Aruto that he can stay behind to protect Asai since his university schedule gives him much more free time. Afterward, Clive tells Aruto and Satsuki to leave because they still have important matters to discuss with Nozomi's family. Later, Clive and Asai remain at the guild base talking to each other. Asai quietly says that if something ever happened to her, she feels like no one would really care. Hearing those words, Clive immediately changes the subject and jokingly wonders if there is anything to eat. When he discovers there is no food, he says that he will simply go fishing instead. However, after Clive leaves, a strange darkness begins leaking from the spot on Asai's neck where the creature bit her. Through that darkness, Nozomi is able to watch everything that Asai and the others are doing. The following day, Takanori announces that he has hired 10 detectives to search for Nozomi. Hearing that, Aruto becomes discouraged and thinks that someone ordinary like him probably is no longer needed to help with the search. Aruto keeps thinking about what Nozomi said when they fought her. She implied that Takanori was protecting Satsuki as if she were his girlfriend. Takanori realizes that everything happened because of him. Still completely clueless, Aruto asks Satsuki if she understands what happened from a woman's point of view. Satsuki explains that she simply got carried away and danced with Takanori, which made Nozomi extremely jealous. Even then, Aruto says he still does not understand why Nozomi would get so upset over something like that. Satsuki finally gives him a direct answer and tells him that Nozomi is in love with Takanori. Hearing that makes Takanori feel guilty. He realizes that Nozomi let her jealousy consume her, and that it eventually turned her into the villain she has become. He promises that when he sees her again, he will explain everything and sincerely apologize. Just then, the group suddenly feels a sharp pain. They notice that the clock has not moved for several hours, making them realize that something strange has happened without them noticing. A mysterious young man suddenly appears before them and says that time is sometimes connected to each person's destiny. The group has no idea who he is, but he begins talking about the future and the flow of time. He says that if they want to change the future, they must first gain the power to choose the ideal world. Those words immediately make the group suspect that he belongs to Gognis. The man thanks them because, thanks to everything they have done, Asai has matured perfectly through the experiment. His words make Aruto furious. Without warning, the mysterious man freezes time and disappears. Moments later, everything returns to normal, and the group realizes that time itself has somehow been reversed. Aruto then remembers what Liuchia once told him, that the player's abilities can also be used in the real world. Realizing the danger, Aruto says they need to get to Asai as quickly as possible. The story briefly flashes back to another memory from the past, where the Subaru Guild is fighting a dungeon boss. Asai carefully gives everyone instructions so they can defeat it without making any mistakes. However, Aruto suddenly changes the strategy and defeats the boss using a completely different approach. That decision starts another argument between him and Asai because she feels offended that he ignored her battle plan. Back in the present, Asai is shown dreaming. When Aruto arrives, he immediately asks if she is all right, but Asai has no idea why he is asking. The rest of the group soon arrives and explains that they encountered a member of Gogness in the real world who used time-related abilities. Clive refuses to believe the story because it makes no sense for someone to use sensory abilities outside the game. The group then discusses Asai's behavior. They begin wondering if she wanted to reunite the Subaru Guild because she had subconsciously foreseen something. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted when the entire area begins shaking violently. Asai immediately tells everyone to get out. Seconds later, the place collapses completely. Fortunately, one of the group members teleports everyone to safety before they are crushed. They conclude that someone deliberately tried to gather them in one place so they could all be killed at once. Soon afterward, they notice a water spirit tower nearby. The group immediately recognizes it as the dungeon they conquered 6 years ago. They quickly realize that only someone like Nozomi could have recreated something on such a massive scale. Without wasting any time, they enter the dungeon. As they move deeper inside, Aruto notices that he cannot sense a single monster. Eventually, they arrive at a large chamber that reminds him of the Dragon Fortress. After inspecting the area, Aruto realizes that it is actually the original dungeon they cleared years ago, but someone has manually added another layer on top of it. The group continues exploring until they reach the room where they once fought the giant snake from their old memories. Suddenly, Asai activates her prophet art and warns everyone that something is about to attack them. A moment later, she realizes it was only a trap created by the members of Gogness. At the same time, the door ahead opens by itself, even though it should only unlock after defeating the mini-boss. Aruto notices that Asai has been acting strangely, and suggests that they should turn back. However, Asai insists that she is perfectly fine. Takanori agrees with Aruto and points out that Asai's prophet art has not been working correctly. Asai becomes visibly upset and insists that they must rescue Nozomi, leaving the group with no choice but to continue climbing the tower. Eventually, they reach the final area where they fought the boss 6 years earlier. There, Nozomi appears before them. Asai sadly tells her that destroying the Subaru Guild base was wrong because it held so many precious memories. Nozomi shows no concern and coldly replies that they are no longer friends. The group desperately tries to convince her that she is being manipulated by Gogness, but Nozomi does not care. She coldly declares that she had only been pretending to be a good person all along. At that moment, Nozomi raises her staff and summons all of her creatures. She also begins transforming until she takes on the appearance of a demon. As she transforms, she declares that she has finally broken out of her shell and that everyone is about to see her true self. Takanori steps forward and tells her that her friends have always supported her and that he has come to save her. For a brief moment, his words reach Nozomi's heart, but Sarintis and Marcian suddenly appear. Filled with anger, Takanori declares that he will defeat both of them for everything they have done to Nozomi. At that moment, Nozomi commands all of her monsters to attack the group. Aruto and the others begin defeating the creatures one by one, while Aruto starts hearing a mysterious voice coming from the wound that Nozomi's creature left on Asai's neck. At the same time, Sarintis summons countless weapons and launches them at the group. Nozomi then approaches Takanori and Satsuki, mocking them for always being together before striking Takanori. He blocks the attack immediately and tells her that everything is just a misunderstanding. Takanori then knocks Nozomi into a large rock and activates a skill that causes both of them to fall to the floor below. Nozomi cannot understand why Takanori left his friends upstairs when they are in danger of dying. Takanori explains that he only brought her there because he wanted to talk privately about what happened 6 years ago. Nozomi replies that she is no longer the same person she was back then before attacking him once again. Instead of dodging, Takanori accepts every blow and reminds her of the time they became lost inside a dungeon 6 years earlier. The story flashes back to that memory, where Nozomi was terrified and apologized for getting everyone lost. Takanori comforted her instead of blaming her, encouraging her to keep moving forward. Nozomi admitted that she always felt like a burden and wanted to change so she could become useful to everyone because, more than anything, she wanted to feel loved. It was then that Takanori told her that if she truly wanted to change, she first had to break out of the shell she had built around herself. Back in the present, Takanori confesses that he was actually the one trapped inside a shell all this time. He also admits that he always knew Nozomi had feelings for him. Finally, he confesses that he has always loved her as well. Still confused, Nozomi asks about the dance with Satsuki. Takanori explains that he and Satsuki were only comforting each other because they both believed they had lost Aruto and Asai. He sincerely apologizes for the misunderstanding. Overwhelmed by guilt, Nozomi punches Takanori, but he gets back up and continues walking toward her without caring whether she keeps hitting him. A colorful aura begins surrounding his body. Nozomi sends several of her beasts to attack him, but Takanori's divine sense teleports them all away. He finally reaches Nozomi and tells her that he is angry with himself for failing to understand her feelings. He then says that she has always been the kindest member of the Subaru Guild. Nozomi breaks down in tears and admits that she did everything simply because she wanted him to notice her. Takanori gently embraces her and activates his divine sense once again, causing the evil spirit controlling her to disappear instantly. Nozomi finally returns to normal and feels terrible for everything she has done. Takanori gently tells her that he will stay by her side from now on because all he wants is to be with her. He then asks her to return to their friends. Just then, Nozomi suddenly remembers that something terrible is about to happen. The story immediately cuts back to Aruto's group, where Aruto suddenly collapses after Asai shoots him in the chest. Everyone is left stunned because they cannot understand why Asai would do such a thing. The story then rewinds a few moments earlier, revealing that Cerinthus and Marcian had already realized they had lost Nozomi as a member of Gognis. However, they reveal that she had already completed her role by planting a demonic seed inside Asai. At that moment, Marcian's magical cloak spreads across the battlefield, and Aruto warns everyone to be careful because the cloak can absorb both people and magic. Satsuki tries to help Aruto, but Cerinthus and Marcian force her to defend herself instead. Marcian declares that Asai is the only one with enough power to ascend to paradise, and the two villains laugh as they imagine the look on her face when Aruto dies. Fed up with their taunts, Aruto attacks together with Clive. The two launch a perfectly coordinated assault that traps Marcian. Just as Aruto is about to finish the fight, Asai suddenly orders him to stop. The group realizes that she is being consumed and controlled by a dark aura. Aruto desperately tries to bring her back to her senses, but Asai falls into an illusion where she sees an alternate reality in which Aruto attacks her. Believing the illusion to be real, she pulls out her weapon and shoots Aruto directly in the chest. Asai immediately returns to her senses and breaks down in tears, realizing that everything she had just seen was only a dream. The others quickly gather around to comfort her. Meanwhile, after witnessing Asai's growing power, Cerinthus announces that the time has finally come for the goddess to awaken. At that moment, Asai activates her powers, but Cerinthus traps her inside a massive magical crystal. At the same time, Takanori and Nozomi rush toward the battlefield. Nozomi warns him that once Asai's powers fully awaken, there will be no turning back. Takanori calmly replies that as long as they are still alive, there is always hope of changing the future. Back on the battlefield, Satsuki summons the Elemental Kings to protect Aruto. However, she admits that her elemental magic can only delay his death. Clive also begins suffering injuries during the fight, but Liesha suddenly arrives and destroys several of the weapons that Cerinthus had summoned. She coldly tells Cerinthus and Marcian that she has no intention of wasting her time dealing with either of them because they are not worth it. Before anyone can react, the magical crystal imprisoning Asai can no longer withstand her overwhelming power and finally shatters. At the same moment, Aruto suddenly awakens inside a completely dark dimension. Confused, he cannot see any of his friends. After walking for a while, he spots Asai in the distance. The moment she sees him, she begs him to stay away because she believes she has become too dangerous. Instead of listening, Aruto gently holds her face to reassure her. A forgotten memory is then revealed from the day they were inside the tower. The vision Asai had seen, where she believed Aruto attacked her, was actually the opposite. Aruto had been protecting her because a monster was standing right behind her, and he defeated it at that very moment. After saving her, he promised that he would become strong enough to protect her forever. The story then returns to the present as Aruto suddenly regains consciousness. A tremendous aura bursts from his body while he remembers the promise he made to protect Asai. He immediately rushes to her side and finds that she is beginning to recover. This completely shocks Cerinthus and Marcian, who never expected the two of them to recover so quickly. Cerinthus suggests that they should retreat, but Marcian reminds him that returning without Asai would bring severe punishment from their leader. Just then, the rest of the group arrives, and Liesha quietly notes that everyone has finally reunited once again. Aruto then declares that he will personally deal with Cerinthus and Marcian for everything they have done to Asai and Nozomi. In response, Marcian covers him with his magical cloak, intending to consume him. However, Aruto's anger explodes into a brilliant multicolored aura. After activating his sword, he summons several magical lions that immediately free his friends before devouring both enemies. Sometime later, Satsuki scolds Aruto because she wanted to capture the two alive and question them, but Aruto apologizes, admitting that he let his emotions take control. At that moment, Nozomi interrupts them and sincerely apologizes for dragging everyone into such a terrible situation. Asai immediately hugs her, leaving Nozomi overwhelmed with emotion because she never imagined she would see the real Asai alive after believing she had died 6 years earlier. Through tears, Nozomi also apologizes to Satsuki for everything she said to her, but Satsuki tells her that she understands because she had been possessed by an evil spirit. The group then approaches Leisha and begins asking her questions. Asai realizes that Leisha had actually saved her before, and sincerely thanks her. Leisha quietly remarks that Asai still has not changed. She then takes out the original sheath belonging to Aruto's sword and returns it to him, explaining that she found it during one of her journeys. Aruto begins talking about the sword and explains that the name Subaru refers to a cluster of 6 visible stars, while his sword, Pleiades, actually contains 7 gemstones. He also explains that Subaru itself is based on the 7 sisters of Pleiades. Leisha continues by saying that, just like the sword, the members of Subaru have become legends. Immediately after saying those words, she disappears. Sometime later, it is revealed that Nozomi had been staying inside an internet cafe the entire time. Takanori finally finds her there and assures her that his promise to stay by her side was genuine. His words move Nozomi to tears, and she embraces him tightly. Takanori becomes embarrassed but tells her that he will personally speak with her family, making Nozomi feel safe once again. In another scene, Clive receives confirmation that Nozomi has finally been rescued, greatly relieving him because he knows that his friend is now safe. Meanwhile, Aruto quietly reflects on how Asai has finally succeeded in bringing the Subaru Guild back together once again. At that moment, Aruto's younger sister Aruna enters the room. She is still awake because she has an important exam the next day. Aruna tells him that she has not seen him this happy in a very long time. Aruto realizes that it is because he can finally see Asai again inside the game. He then begins remembering all the wonderful moments he shared with Asai and the rest of his friends, knowing that they experienced countless unforgettable adventures together. The following day, the entire group gathers once again and looks forward to their very first adventure. After reuniting the Subaru Guild, Nozomi volunteers to rebuild the guild base, since she was the one who destroyed it, and Asai immediately offers to help her. The others are not very confident in the two of them, because they believe the rebuilding might end in complete disaster. Even so, everyone agrees that they must become much stronger so they can continue protecting the girls, because they never want to experience another tragedy like the one that happened the previous day. Finally, the group exchanges a few last words of encouragement before setting out once again as the team they were always meant to be.